Last time we stopped at this paragraph 17. The Buddha giving a simile of a wet sappy piece of wood lying in water. And then a man came up with an upper fire stick, tried to produce a fire, tried to produce heat. So the Agivesana replied, okay, the man would not be able to make the fire. Eventually, the man would reap only weariness and disappointment, and then so too, those ascetics, Brahmins, who still do not live bodily withdrawn from sexual pleasures, they are incapable of knowledge and vision and supreme enlightenment. Yeah. Those ascetics and Brahmins feel painful, the first one. They are incapable of enlightenment. And if they do not feel painful feelings, they are also incapable of enlightenment. Yeah. Why? Because those ascetics who still do not live bodily withdrawn from sensual pleasures. Yeah. The sensual desire, affection, infatuation, thirst, and fever for sensual pleasures has not been abandoned and suppressed internally. Let's continue with the next paragraph. 18. Again, Agivesana. A second simile occurred to me spontaneously, never heard before. Suppose there were a wet, sappy piece of wood lying on dry land far from water, and a man came up with an upper fire stick, thinking, I shall light a fire as I produce heat. What do you think, Agivesana? Could the man light a fire and produce heat by taking the upper fire stick and rubbing it against the wet, sappy piece of wood lying on dry land, far from water? The reply, no, Master Gautama, why not? Because it is a wet, sappy piece of wood, even though it is lying on dry land, far from water. Eventually, the man would reap only weariness and disappointment. Okay, so here, what is the difference between this one and the previous one? It is still a wet, sappy piece of wood, but this time, like this. This time, instead of in the water, this wood is now on dry land, far from water. And what does this simile refers to? Let's read on to find out. So too, Agivesana, as to those ascetics and Brahmins who live bodily withdrawn from sensual pleasures, but whose sensual desire, affection, infatuation, thirst, and fever for sensual pleasures has not been fully abandoned and suppressed internally. Okay, so here, what is the difference between this and the previous one? This line. Those ascetics and Brahmins who live already bodily withdrawn from sensual pleasures. But if you go back to the previous one, the highlighted in yellow, those ascetics and Brahmins still do not live bodily withdrawn from sensual pleasures. And then the following part, whose sensual desire, affection, infatuation, thirst, and fever for sensual pleasures has not been fully abandoned and suppressed internally. This is exactly the same as the previous one. The difference is in the blue, highlighted in blue. Even if those good ascetics and Brahmins feel painful, racking, piercing feelings due to exertion, okay, let me highlight this again. They are incapable of knowledge and vision and supreme enlightenment. And even if those good ascetics and Brahmins do not feel painful, racking, piercing feelings due to exertion, they are still incapable of knowledge and vision and supreme enlightenment. This is the second simile. This was the second simile that occurred to me spontaneously. Never heard before. Okay, so far, let me do a quick check. Any confusion here? Any questions or comments? If not, let's continue reading. Number 19, Sister Lin Toy. Would you like to read?
Again, I give a thought simile occurred to me spontaneously, never heard before. Suppose there were a dry, shapeless piece of wood lying on dry land far from water, and a man came with an upper fire stick, thinking, I shall light a fire, I shall produce heat. What do you think, Agivesana? Could the man light a fire and produce heat by rubbing it against the dry, shapeless piece of wood lying on dry land far from water? Yes, Master Gotama. Why so? Because it is a dry, shapeless piece of wood, and it is lying on dry land far from water. So too, Agivesana, as to those ascetics and Brahmins who live bodily withdrawn from sensual pleasures, and whose sensual desire, affection, infatuation, thirst, and fever for sensual pleasures has been fully abandoned and suppressed internally. Even if those good ascetics and Brahmins feel painful, racking, piercing feelings due to exertion, they are capable of knowledge and vision and supreme enlightenment. And even if those good ascetics and Brahmins do not feel painful, racking, piercing feelings due to exertion, they are capable of knowledge and vision and supreme enlightenment. This was the third simile that occurred to me spontaneously, never heard before. These are the three similes that occurred to me spontaneously, never heard before.
Okay, thanks, Sister Lin Tai. Let's take a look at footnotes number 16. Bhikkhu Bodhi says, it is puzzling that in the following paragraphs, the Bodhisattva is shown engaging in self-mortification after he comes to the conclusion in this passage that such practices are useless for the attainment of enlightenment. This anomaly raises a suspicion that the narrative sequence of the sutta has become jumbled. The appropriate place for the simile of the fire sticks, it seems, will be at the end of the Bodhisattva's period of ascetic experimentation, when he has acquired a sound basis for rejecting self-mortification as a way to enlightenment. We will see what Bhikkhu Bodhi means after reading the following paragraphs. So, this third simile, instead of wet piece of wood, it is now dry, shapeless piece of wood. Like this. Instead of lying on the water, now it's lying on dry land far from water. So the Buddha asks, will that man be able to make a fire, like a fire, and produce heat? Now the answer is yes. Why? Because now everything is dry. So if they make the stick and then rub it, and then they can produce fire now. So what does this third simile refers to? Those ascetics and Brahmin, firstly, live bodily withdrawn from sensual pleasures, and also sensual desire, affection, infatuation, and thirst and fever for sensual pleasures has been fully abandoned and suppressed internally. Now, for those ascetics and Brahmins who feel painful feelings, now they are capable of enlightenment. And even if those ascetics and Brahmins do not feel painful feelings due to exertion, they are still capable of enlightenment. So this was the 3 similes given by the Buddha. Okay, let's read on a few more paragraphs. Sister Aikim, would you like to read? Number 20.
20. I thought, suppose with my teeth clenched and my tongue pressed against the roof of my mouth, I bit down, constrained, and crushed mine with mine. So with my teeth clenched down, constrained, and my tongue pressed.
I didn't understand that.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Sister Aikim, you are muted.
Sorry. Okay, I start. I thought, suppose with my teeth clenched and my tongue pressed against the roof of my mouth, I bit down, constrained, and crushed mine with mine. So with my teeth clenched and my tongue pressed against the roof of my mouth, I bit down, constrained, and crushed mine with mine. While I did so, sweat ran from my armpits, just as a strong man might seize a weaker man by the head or shoulders and beat him down, constrain him, and crush him, so as to with my teeth clenched and my tongue pressed against the roof of my mouth, I bit down, constrained, and crushed mine with mine, and sweat ran from my armpits. But although tireless energy was aroused in me, and unremitting mindfulness was established, my body was overwrought and strained because I was exhausted by the painful striving. But such painful feeling that arose in me did not invade my mind and remain.
Thanks, Sister Aikim. Let's take a look at footnote number 17. This sentence, repeated at the end of each following sections, as well, answers the second of the 2 questions posed by Sachaka in number 11. So, Bhikkhu Bodhi referring to this line, such painful feeling that arose in me did not invade my mind and remain. What was the question Bhikkhu Bodhi referring to? Let's go back to number 11 a little bit. The second question here, has there never arisen in Master Gautama a feeling so painful that it could invade his mind and remain? So this is the question, and the Buddha answers it in this number 20, the last sentence of number 20. Such painful feeling that arose in me did not invade my mind and remain. And here, when I read this, with my teeth clenched and my tongue pressed against the roof of my mouth. This is quite a graphic simile. And until the sweat ran from my armpits. Wow. Imagine how hard the Buddha clenched the teeth until sweat comes out from the armpit. So it's quite a graphic image, and this shows how extreme was the practice the Buddha did during this period. Just to be clear here, this is not the practice to follow. The Buddha eventually realized that this practice of self-mortification is not the way to go. Let's continue on reading. Sister Saikem, would you like to read?
Number 21. I thought, suppose I practice the breathless meditation. So I stopped the in-breath and out-breath through my mouth and nose. While I did so, there was a loud sound of winds coming out from my ear holes, just as there is a loud sound when a smith's bellows are blown. So too, while I stopped the in-breath and out-breath through my nose and ears, there was a loud sound of winds coming out from my ear holes. But although tireless energy was aroused in me, and unremitting mindfulness was established, my body was overwrought and strained because I was exhausted by the painful striving. But such painful feeling that arose in me did not invade my mind and remain.
Okay, thanks, sisters, again. So the Buddha tried to stop the in-breath and out-breath through the mouth and nose. Yeah, it's the second graphic description in this sutta. And because of that, there was a loud sound of wind coming out from my ear holes. So I'm not sure if this is biologically possible, but I never tried it, but it does sound painful. Okay, the next one, number 22. Sister Xinghui, would you like to read?
22. I thought, suppose I practice further the breathless meditation. So I stopped the in-breaths and the out-breaths through my mouth, nose, and ears. While I did so, violent winds cut through my head, just as if a strong man were pressing against my head with the tip of a sharp sword. So too, while I stopped the in-breaths and out-breaths through my mouth, nose, and ears, violent winds cut through my head. But although tireless energy was aroused in me and remitting mindfulness was established, my body was overwrought and strained because I was exhausted by the painful striving. But such painful feeling that arose in me did not invade my mind and remain.
Okay, thanks, Sister Xinghui. Oh. So after trying out to cover the mouth and the nose, there were winds in the previous paragraph through the ears. And then in this paragraph, the Buddha covered the ears too. Yeah. So when the Buddha did that, violent winds cut through my head. I'm not sure what is this description about, but again, it does sound painful. Okay, let's read one more. Sister Choi Kwan, would you like to read?
Number 23. I thought, suppose I practice further the breathless meditation. So I stopped the in-breath and out-breath through my mouth, nose, and ears. While I did so, there were violent pains in my head, just as if a strong man were tightening a tough leather strap around my head as a headband. So too, while I stopped the in-breath and out-breath through my mouth, nose, and ears, there were violent pains in my head. But although tireless energy arose in me and unremitting mindfulness was established, my body was overwrought and strained because I was exhausted by the painful striving, but such painful feeling that arose in me did not invade my mind and remain. Thank you.
Thanks, Sister Choi Kwan. Okay, so what is the difference between this paragraph and the previous paragraph? So the Buddha here says, practice further the breathless meditation. Stop the in-breath and out-breath through mouth, nose, ears. And let's see in the next paragraph, 23. The same, practice further the breathless meditation. Stop the in-breath, out-breath through mouth, nose, and ears. So it's exactly the same, but here the difference is there were violent pains in my head. The previous one, violent winds cut through my head. So I think this is the difference. Yeah, between number 23 and number 22. Okay, any questions or comments? I think this is a good time to stop. Just nice 8 a.m. If not, let's do a dedication. 燕消三藏九饭囊，燕的就会证明了。普燕最章细笑主， 学是唱随菩萨道。阿弥陀佛。Till we meet again, may we be guided by the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha. Have a breathtaking Saturday ahead. Not breathless, breathtaking. Thanks everyone for participating. See you guys next time. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
You. Bye bye.
Bye bye, Din Tai.
Bye bye.